Have you ever felt a ringing in your ear without apparent explanation? A sharp, momentary sound, almost imperceptible, yet seeming to emanate from another place, another plane entirely. What if I told you that this sound is not random? What if that invisible whisper is actually a message from the universe, an echo from a spiritual dimension attempting to communicate with you? In ancient cultures, the ear was considered a sacred gateway, a channel through which celestial energies could manifest. And the ringing, that subtle yet insistent sound, was perceived not as mere auditory phenomenon, but as a vibratory key indicating that something in the soul was shifting, aligning, or awakening. The ear was understood as far more than a physical organ designed to perceive sound. It was an instrument of subtle perception, a spiritual antenna, a receiver of messages from the invisible world. Unexplained ringing or high-pitched tones were not dismissed as simple medical symptoms, but recognized as signals from the divine. Coded vibrations, celestial warnings, messages meant only for those with ears to truly hear. In ancient Egyptian mystical traditions, initiates understood that the right ear was linked to divine perception, while the left absorbed the vibrations of the material world. In Vedic India, these ringing tones were recognized within the stages of spiritual awakening, particularly during the ascent of Kundalini energy. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika mentions this phenomenon as one of the manifestations of the mystical sound that guides the yogi toward deep meditation and connection with the Absolute. Even Taoist internal alchemy teachings cultivate this perception. Certain sounds perceived during meditation are understood as messages from the energetic body, signals that the practitioner is accessing elevated dimensions of consciousness. A persistent ringing could mean the practitioner had touched the Shen, pure spirit, or that energetic channels were being purified. In the Bible itself, echoes of this vision appear. In the book of Samuel, it is written, "And the Lord spoke to him, and there was a murmur like a whisper in the ear." In prophetic symbolism, the ear is the organ chosen by the divine to speak in secret, in the intimacy of the soul. Not through thunder, but through whisper. Not with noise, but with vibration. Today, in a world dominated by external noise, we have forgotten how to listen inward. We have ignored the whispers of the soul, dismissing them as neurological coincidence or mere annoyance. Yet the ancients knew what we are only beginning to rediscover. When the soul aligns with higher frequencies, the body responds, and the ear awakens. Imagine for a moment, you are adjusting an old radio dial. As you move through the frequencies, you begin capturing hidden signals within the white noise. Suddenly, a clear frequency slides through the air, a voice, a melody, a message that was there all along, waiting only for you to be tuned to receive it. Thus, the spiritual universe functions, and the ringing in your ears, that mysterious vibration that intrudes without warning, can be signals that you are beginning to tune in to another frequency entirely. We are not speaking of a symptom in the clinical sense. This is not tinnitus or auditory dysfunction. There is no damage, no pathology. We are speaking of an energetic phenomenon, a sensitivity awakening, when consciousness begins to elevate. It is an echo of the invisible manifesting in the sensory. And for those walking a spiritual path, this phenomenon can become a vibrational compass. First, you must understand that everything in the universe emits a frequency. Your thoughts, your emotions, your electromagnetic field, places, even people. And when your consciousness shifts to a new level, through mystical experience, deep meditation, or sudden energetic opening, your energetic body begins to vibrate at a higher rate. In response, your physical body activates dormant capacities. One of the first signs of this awakening is precisely this: the ear's sensitivity expanding beyond normal range. The ringing is essentially your consciousness beginning to perceive subtle frequencies that were always present but previously imperceptible. It is like upgrading your receiver. The signal itself does not change. Your capacity to detect it does. In spiritual terms, this is called the activation of the inner ear, not the physical ear, but the subtle auditory channel through which the soul receives guidance. There are multiple origins for these ringing experiences. Sometimes it is the activation of your pineal gland, the so-called third eye, increasing in frequency and sending signals through your nervous system. Other times, it is your higher self attempting urgent communication. In some cases, it may be the presence of spiritual guides or angelic beings drawing near, their vibration creating a resonance your physical ear translates as sound. The Vedic traditions speak of nada, a mystical sound arising from within, particularly during meditation. The Taoist alchemists cultivated perception of these inner harmonics as signs of spiritual progress. These are not external phenomena, but internal activations, your soul beginning to remember its true nature as a vibrational being. If we understood ringing as doorways to spiritual perception, now we must go deeper. Every open channel, every sensitive antenna, does not only receive light, it can also receive interference. Spiritual expansion is not linear or always serene. It is profound energetic adjustment, where the soul traverses gray zones, contradictions, resistance. Ringing in the ears can manifest these moments of crossing between the invisible and the unresolved. In esoteric circles, it is recognized that elevated frequencies guide us, yet fields of distorted energy also exist, attempting to mislead or confuse. These interferences are not always malevolent. Often they are vibrational residues, collective emotional charges, or karmic memories activated when we approach a quantum leap in consciousness. When ringing becomes persistent or troublesome, we must ask, am I receiving true guidance, or am I being invaded by a frequency that does not belong to me? This discernment is critical. Constant energetic hygiene is required. A saturated mind, blocked body, or dense environment distorts any signal into noise. What could have been subtle guidance becomes confusion. Many spiritual teachers recognize that persistent ringing arises when you resist necessary transformation. The soul wants to release truth, to access a new level, but the personality, through fear, resists. Then the ringing acts as vibratory pressure, a constant reminder that something within demands alignment. Others teach that some ringing comes from above, echoes of your higher self attempting urgent communication. It appears synchronized with important decisions, key encounters, or moments of revelation. It is a spiritual alarm calling you to presence and wakefulness. We must also address artificial vibrational manipulation. Some esoteric circles acknowledge certain technologies can emit waves interfering with the human field, generating ringing and pineal disruption. Without conspiracy thinking, recognize that spiritual sensitivity requires learning self-protection. How do we protect ourselves? Through daily meditation, healing frequencies, 432 Hz or 963 Hz, visualizations of golden or violet light, and above all, maintaining deep emotional coherence. So when you feel ringing, Do not ignore it, but do not idealize it either. Ask, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? Is there something I need to hear beyond my internal words? The mystical ear opens not only to receive, but to remember. And remembering requires discernment. A signal has no value if you do not know what to do with it. There is no benefit in receiving subtle messages if you do not learn to decipher them and transform that information into lived wisdom. Ringing in the ears, when not medical symptoms but spiritual manifestations, can be portals of personal evolution. But only if you learn to listen with consciousness, humility, and discernment. I will show you how to integrate this phenomenon into your life in a practical and profound way. Not through obsession with sounds, nor through fixed interpretations, but through developing a lucid, energetic sensitivity that converts each ringing into an opportunity for inner connection and spiritual growth. When you feel ringing, do not continue as though nothing happened. Stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I doing in this instant? What was I thinking or feeling before the sound appeared? Is there something I am ignoring? Ringing often appears at key moments, like a subtle bell calling you to presence. If you pause consciously each time it occurs, you will soon discover hidden patterns, connections between your inner vibration and what the universe attempts to reveal. Next, perform an energetic scan. Ask, are there areas of my life where energy is stagnant? Repressed emotions, unresolved conflicts? Do this with compassion, not judgment. Often the ringing is a soul's call saying, here is something that needs healing. You can support this with practices like conscious breathing, focused on the third eye, listening to harmonic frequencies, 432 Hz, 432 Hz, 528 Hz, 963 Hz, or meditation in silence with the intention of opening your inner ear. Establish a channel of inner communication. The ancient sages knew the soul speaks in symbols, images, and sounds. Create a daily practice of opening to this dialogue. Keep a spiritual journal where you note each ringing, its intensity, which ear, what you felt. Care for your vibrational field. An open energetic ear requires a healthy vibrational environment. Avoid overexposure to noise, negativity, or dense atmospheres. Surround yourself with what elevates: harmonious music, nature, silence, art. Finally, invoke energetic protection. Cultivate the habit of protecting your field before sleep or meditation. Visualize a circle of golden light enveloping you. Affirm, only energies of the highest love and wisdom access my field. I am aligned with divine light. In a world saturated with noise, constant distractions, and empty words, there exists a type of sound that does not impose itself, does not shout, does not demand. It is the ringing, that subtle whisper not heard with physical ears, but felt through the invisible threads of the soul. A sound appearing without explanation, without apparent reason, as if arriving from another dimension. And perhaps it does. Throughout this journey, we have traversed a path extending far beyond the biology of the ear or the science of sound. We have explored the hidden universe of subtle frequencies, those unmeasured by instruments, yet capable of moving the spirit profoundly. We have discovered that ringing in the ears is not only a physical phenomenon. It can be vibrational messages from the soul, from your higher self, from the universe itself. When you understand that each frequency carries intention, direction, and purpose. You begin seeing ringing as an act of divine communication. It can announce an imminent change, signal an opening of consciousness, reveal the proximity of a spiritual guide, or warn you of an energy affecting you unconsciously. The secret lies in listening not with the ear, but with presence. This invisible sound, so often ignored, is actually one of the most powerful tools for consciousness expansion. Because each time you hear ringing, the universe asks you, are you ready to awaken? Are you willing to listen to what your soul already knows? Here comes the most important part. Not all ringing is identical. Some is light, some is interference. Your work is not simply to believe in its meaning, but to become a master in the art of discerning. Learn to feel the vibration behind the sound. Understand that if something resonates within you, a truth awaits revelation. Spiritual awakening does not always arrive through mystical visions or prophetic dreams. Sometimes it arrives as a slight ringing in the right ear, a vibration, a call, an invisible note only the attentive can hear. Perhaps this is why ancient sages spoke so little. They knew that true knowledge is listened to, not spoken. So the next time ringing surprises you, do not ignore it. Sit, breathe, give thanks. Ask yourself, what is the universe trying to tell me in this instant? Because while everyone searches for signs in the sky, the wise learn to listen to silence. Everything in your spiritual journey comes down to one fundamental choice. Will you remain asleep to the messages constantly being transmitted? Or will you become a conscious listener to the universe's whisper? The ringing in your ear is not a malfunction. It is a transmission, and you are being invited to receive it with full presence. But presence requires practice. It requires the willingness to slow down in a world designed for speed, to listen inward when the world demands you look outward, to trust what cannot be measured when measurement has become our only metric of truth. This awakening of the inner ear is intimately connected to your spiritual evolution. As you elevate your vibration through meditation, through conscious living, through acts of compassion and integrity, your sensitivity naturally expands. You begin perceiving frequencies others miss. You recognize synchronicities others dismiss as coincidence. You hear the whispers others ignore. But this gift carries responsibility. A consciousness that perceives subtle frequencies must also maintain rigorous self-awareness. You must continuously ask, is this guidance serving my highest good? Does this resonance align with love and wisdom? Am I being called upward, or am I being drawn into distraction? These questions are not signs of doubt. They are signs of spiritual maturity. The ancient initiates understood something we are only rediscovering. The ear is the gateway between worlds. Through it flows the voice of intuition, the call of destiny, the whisper of guides and higher consciousness. They developed practices, disciplines, and sacred listening protocols to honor this gateway. And now, you are inheriting this ancient wisdom in a modern context. Your work is simple, yet profound. Cultivate stillness. Create moments of genuine silence, not the absence of external noise, but the presence of inner peace. In that silence, the universe speaks most clearly. Protect your energetic field with intention and practice. Honor every signal you receive by pausing, by discerning, by responding consciously rather than reactively. And above all, remember, the ringing in your ear is not calling you away from life. It is calling you deeper into it, into authentic presence, into genuine connection, into the recognition of the sacred woven through every moment. When you live this way, the ringing transforms from a mysterious phenomenon into a trusted companion, a frequency that helps you navigate the visible and invisible worlds with wisdom, discernment, and grace.